by my family and all the things that have been passed on through the generations to make me who I am. You know, and it's like this reading from Scripture about the passing on to the next generation, the goodness of God, the grace of God, and all the other things that build up the culture of good families. Now, I'm also aware that there are a lot of you here this morning who, when you think of your families, you didn't have a great family experience. When you think of your family, you think of the negatives. You know, you think of the insecurity of an alcoholic parent, or the loneliness that you experience growing up in your family with your fears and your sense of rejection, that you kind of carry the scars of that around in your life. You kind of think of all the arguments that you used to have with your brothers and sisters, which continue on today. And God in your family was a swear word. You know? You didn't have the baton of faith passed on to you. And you sit here today incredibly grateful to God that somehow along the way God broke into your world and you came to faith in Jesus. And it's amazing, isn't it, how God can open our eyes when we begin to see actually what our families were like and how God wants to build something new and different in our families when we come in faith. Some of you experienced that? You just say, wow, God, why didn't I see that before? And God's now given you a desire in your heart to pass on the baton of faith to this next generation and the next generation and the next generation, and to build a culture in your family that's going to be a blessing to your family and to the next generation down the track. God's given you a new opportunity to change your family history line. Let me just very quickly talk about some of the things that I think are really important for us to build in our families and to pass on to the next generation. First of all, we need to build stable, secure homes and build a culture of homes that are stable, secure places for our kids. I grew up, I know I'm getting really old and grey-haired, and I grew up on a farm, with my mum and dad and my brother and two sisters. Man, it's such a different world than today. I mean, we had no TV. I think the only thing we had was an old radio, and I listened to Gunsmoke and Ducks to Deaton and, those kind of things, And we never travelled anywhere when we were young kids because the only mode of transport we had was an old Maurice truck. And, you get mum and dad and maybe a couple of kids squashed in the front and the rest of us piled on the back, and you froze to death, We never travelled anywhere, So, you didn't travel anywhere. Very rarely did we go out, during the week anywhere, What a different world. Man, it's amazing, isn't it? I mean, so we spent lots of times together as a family doing things, I just want to say, today, for parents, it's a different world. And parents have to be far more intentional today about protecting your family. Let me just mention two things that I believe as parents today, you have a responsibility to protect your kids from. First of all, we've got to protect our children from the incredible, hectic lifestyle that we live today. One of our road slogans is "Speed kills." Hey, speed kills families. They undermine our relationships. They create instability in relationships and in family life. Speed kills families. And you only have to look at all the problems now that teenagers are trying to carry around and marriages are experiencing to realise that because of the hectic pace of life, our families are under incredible pressure. You just have to look at the loneliness, increased loneliness amongst teenagers, the high rate of suicide in New Zealand amongst teenagers, and depression. The binge drinking and experimenting with drugs. And we could go on again with another list of indicators that indicate us that families are under pressure. So let me ask you this morning. Now I know there's an awful lot of grandparents here. But grandparents, we can have an input into our families as well. Now let me ask you, are you living a lifestyle that's far too hectic? Now, I'm not trying to make you feel guilty this morning. I don't actually have to do that because, knowing me as a parent, you feel guilty enough anyway, I think back of when I was a dad and I think, gosh, you sort of blunder your way through it. You kind of learn as you go, and often the first kids end up all the mistakes made, don't they? You blunder along anyway. And it's very easy to feel guilty. So I'm not here to make you feel guilty this morning, but I do want to say to you as parents, every now and then we need to sit down and take a rain check. Is our life far too fast? Are we just trying to taxi drive kids all over the place and we're running around, and mum and dad are passing like, ships in the night? And our kids are just feeling so insecure because there's no stable base for them at home, where home is a place where it's safe and it's secure and it's a good feeling. It's our responsibility to protect our kids from that. Secondly, we must protect our kids from the intrusion of the media into our homes and our lives. I mean, we live in a digital world. I read a book out of the library recently talking about the digital world and how kids growing up today live in this digital world, and they're actually finding that their whole brain system and everything is wired up different than guys like me, the old people, They're just wired up differently, living in a different world, the digital world. TV, PlayStations, computers, iPods, cell phones, and now you could add another half a dozen other things on after that I don't even know anything about, But mum and dad, if you don't control those things in your home life, they will control your family. And they will undermine the values that you want to put into your kids. And they will undermine your relationships with your kids. They'll undermine it because of the time that people spend on this stuff. I was interested in reading an article about President Obama. They did an article on him and his family. He's obviously a great family man and is doing really, just got great family rules and all the rest of it, and they put very strict boundaries on their two daughters. I was interested that they forbid their daughters from taking cell phones to school. Great. Put boundaries. Now, I'm not against computers and all the rest of it, but we need, as parents, to be aware that we must put boundaries in place to protect our children and our family life from the influence of the world and the temptations that go with that undermine so much that's important for us as families today. Second thing that I believe is important for us to pass on and build for our children as they pass on things, and that is to build close emotional stuff in our families. The emotional, the warmth, the caring, the hugs. We need to build close emotional well-being and health in our families, where kids can walk into home and know that it's a nice place to be. There's warmth here. They can get a big hug. My oldest daughter doesn't kind of like me too much because I'm a hugger and I'm a patter. Pat, 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 And I noticed my little grandson, Matthew, who's here this morning, he gives you a hug and he goes pat, 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 pat. But our kids need that emotional warmth and intimacy from mum and dad. They so need it because they need to know that they're loved. They've got to know that. They've got to experience that. It's got to be something that grounds them into the whole of life, And I've just been spending time in Berlin with our oldest daughter and her husband. It's been great time, really. And I really so admire Kevin, who's our son-in-law. He loves having fun with the kids, And when he comes on the door, the kids just shoo, to him, and they grab him around the ankles and tosses them in the air, and he has fights with them on the floor, and then gets down the floor and he plays, trains with our little 3-year-old, I just think, oh, that's great. That's great. You know, I feel so sad when I see dads who don't